What up, everybody? YouTube Live, how's it going? 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 I don't care what you're looking for. All right now is Tuesday, September 8th, I believe, and it's 7 p.m. and I was in the middle of watching Lakers versus Rockets, yo. When this news hit the web, so I'm like, I gotta take a few minutes to talk about this. So I'm skipping game 2, and hopefully I'll return after halftime for the rest of the quarters, third and fourth. But I want to discuss this with you guys because this is very important. This is a big change that's happening right now. Excuse me. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences released these set of new rules, okay, these requirements, I think around 5 p.m. this evening, I want to say. And so it's huge, it's massive. This is a game changer. And so I want to explain to you guys what's happening here, in case you have questions or in case you're confused as to what these rules are about and how they apply to the films moving forward from now. So I'm opening up my email here because I received emails from the AMPAS Academy, the Academy. And so Academy says Academy establishes representation and inclusion standards for Oscars eligibility. So basically, specifically Best Picture nomination. All right, not editing, not visual effects categories, not costume design. This is mainly for Best Picture category. And as you know, every year it's random. They pick like at least maybe 8 or 7 or 9, no more than 10 that will get nominated for Best Picture. And so let me just read to you the big chunks of it at least. Let me make this a little bigger for you guys to see. Can you see it? All right. Today, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announces new representation and inclusion standards for Oscar eligibility in the Best Picture category as part of its Academy Aperture 2025 initiative. So let's jump to this quote from the Academy president. The aperture must widen to reflect our diverse global population in both the creation of motion pictures and in the audiences who connect with them. And then as you can see here, let me make it bigger. The third paragraph, maybe that's too big. That's what she said, right? That's what she said. Okay. For the 94th Oscars and the 95th Oscars, the years 2022 and 2023, submitting a confidential Academy Inclusion Standards form will be required for Best Picture consideration. However, meeting the inclusion threshold, following the rules down to the T, will not be required for eligibility in the Best Picture category until the 96th Oscars, which is 2024. So, yeah, this coming Oscars 2021 is the 93rd annual. So basically, what they're saying is like we're not gonna enforce these eligibility rules until 2024. Until then, of course, you have to make some changes when you produce a project in your casting and whatever, make it diverse. And we encourage that, we push for that, we highly recommend for that. But meeting the requirements or the threshold for this eligibility will not be mandatory until the 2024 Oscars or leading up to that. So Rama, what is this? What are these rules, man? What are these rules? Let me see here. I think I made myself a bit too big here. Let me make myself. Okay, here you go. All right. For the 96th Oscars 2024, a film must meet 2 or 4 of the following standards to be deemed eligible for the nomination of Best Picture category. 2 or 4, right? 2 out of 4, that's the requirement. All right, if you can meet all 4, hey, more power to you. But they just need 2 of 4 of these to be followed. So, Standard A, on-screen representation, themes, and narratives. To achieve Standard A, the film must meet one of the following criteria. A1, lead or significant supporting actors. At least one of the lead actors or the significant supporting actors is from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. And they even give out bullet points here. Asian, Hispanic, Latinx, Black, African American, Indigenous, Native American, Middle Eastern, North African, Native Hawaiian, or other underrepresented race or ethnicity. A2, now this is for the category of general ensemble cast, right? A1 is for lead and supporting roles, right? Those are usually the big key points, right? As far as performances go, that's why we have Oscars given to lead roles and supporting roles. And this is for general ensemble cast. Massive cast ensemble, kind of like the people, or not the people. How do I say this? You know the SAG Award, Screen Actors Guild Award. They have a category, an award given to best ensemble. So it says here, at least 30% of all the actors in secondary and more minor roles are from at least 2 of the following underrepresented groups. Again, at least 30% of all actors in secondary and more minor roles. All right, these are not like the key lead or the key supporting. These secondary and more minor roles have to be at least 2 of the following underrepresented groups: women, race or ethnic group, LGBTQ+, and people with disabilities, including who are deaf or hard of hearing. Yeah, so it's kind of new here. Con6800 says, does anyone else think this is absolutely insane? I'll get to that. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on this Con6800, but I want to give the explanation first so people will not be confused as to what these rules are about and how they apply. Standard B, so stick around. Standard B, Creative Leadership Project Team. I'm sorry, did I miss anything? A3, I'm sorry, A3, Main Story Subject Line Matter. The main storyline, this is storyline, the theme or narrative of the film is centered on an underrepresented groups: women, racial or ethnic group, LGBTQ+, and people with disability. So you have the lead and supporting role, the general ensemble cast, and the main storyline also has to apply. Again, the film must meet 2 out of 4 of the following standards. So if they meet 2 out of 4 of these things, then they can be eligible for Best Picture Oscars nomination. It's something, right? You can say it. It's quite insane. It is not insane in a probably negative way, but it's like, whoa, what the hell? You know, this is unbelievable. It's something new. Tyler says, but can we bring back the Best Popular Film Oscar? Remember that year when they had that category? Man, that was laughable. All right, so what else here? Okay, Standard B, Creative Leadership and Project Team. Creative Leadership and Department Heads. At least 2 of the following creative leadership positions and department heads have to come from these underrepresented groups. So it's unbelievable. They even have to apply these rules to not just the actors and the minor roles and the storyline, but they also have to apply to the people, you know, the higher ups, the people behind the cameras, the people who are putting this project together or these projects together. At least one of those positions, all right, one of those positions, casting director, cinematographer, composer, costume designer, director, editor. One of those positions must belong to the following underrepresented racial or ethnic group. Again, Asian, Hispanic, Black, Now, I mentioned earlier this is only for Best Picture nominees, but apparently they kind of want to also apply the inclusion to, hey, if your cameraman, if your costume designer, and your editor and director, everybody's like looking white, you gotta mix that up, bro. You gotta mix that up. Other key roles, let's see here. At least 6 other crew, team, and technical positions, including production assistants, are from underrepresented racial or ethnic groups. These positions include, but are not limited to, first AD, assistant director, gaffer, script supervisor, etc. And then B3, overall crew composition. At least 30% of the film's crew is from the following underrepresented groups. Wow, this is long. This is probably one of the longest emails that I've ever received from the Academy Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences. It goes on to, look, it even covers paid apprenticeship and internship opportunities. Woo! Let's see here. Emmanuel says 2 out of the 4 categories, A, B, C, D. For each of these categories, you have to meet one of the third or 4 options. So for standard A, you have to have either lead, supporting role, or ensemble or topic. You don't have to have everything. Exactly. And I think the letter really specifies that, so that if you are making your own movie right now as we speak, and you're receiving this letter, you're not gonna be freaking out. It's like, oh my god, my movie is not gonna be eligible in 2024. Relax, okay? Only 2 out of 4 categories. Let me highlight that again. For the 96th Oscars, a film must meet 2 out of 4 of the following standards. The following standards being all of these, man. All of these. So, Emmanuel's right. You don't have to have everything. That is correct. So, it's crazy. It's wow. When I got this email, I felt overwhelmed, to be honest with you. I was like, what? Now, I gotta get back to Lakers versus Rockets, so let me... I gotta watch Game 3, man. Right now, I'm missing Game 2, but I wanna give you my thoughts before I go, okay? So, you asked me, like, what do you think? What do you think, Rama? Okay, and Con6800 says, does anyone else think this is absolutely insane? Here's the thing. Let me give you an example. Have you seen that movie, David Copperfield, starring Dev Patel? I think it's called The History of David Copperfield. Now, I saw that at the Toronto International Film Festival last year. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's very interesting because they did something that nobody else pretty much did, at least to my recollection. So Dev Patel plays David Copperfield, right? And then I believe his mother, and this is not like his adoptive mother, and then I think and then his uncle, and then his siblings. I don't remember the details anymore, but they're all from different ethnicity. So, for example, you cast Brad Pitt in a movie, and you have the dad, Brad Pitt's dad being Asian, and then his mom is Latinx, you know, and then that's how it is in the movie David Copperfield. When the screen ended, or when the credit rolls, you know, I was like, oh, I was trying to think, like, is this a good thing or a bad thing? On one hand, it's interesting to see diversity in a movie like that, but at the same time, on the other hand, it kind of took you out of the experience of watching the movie. You know what I'm saying? Trust me, go watch the History of David Copperfield. You know what I'm talking about, because you're trying to wrap your head around, like, oh, how this multiracial kid, how can this be? And so you're hung up on trying to understand that, as opposed to trying to enjoy the film. You know what I'm saying? So I think what the History of David Copperfield did, while it's well intentioned, to me as a person of color, I still think that's a bit too much. You want the story to make sense. You know, you don't want the just because you want the cast to be diverse, you don't want that to take the audience's experience out of enjoying the movie, because you have to kind of like, oh, now we're gonna have to check off all the boxes. You know what I'm saying? Check off all the boxes. Oh, the movie that's coming out with Frances McDormand called Nomadland. Oh, we gotta make sure Frances McDormand is married to an Asian in this film. You know, so then you're too hung up on that instead of just giving or writing a good solid story or making a good solid film. So I'm not against inclusion or diversity, but it has to be, at least for me, in moderation. All right, and it has to make sense, and it has to the story and what you're trying to convey with the film. Otherwise, if you're just making a film just for the sake of look at my film, isn't it diverse? Then you're probably making a film for all the wrong reasons, bro. I'm just saying. Yana Peralta is here. She says, this is freaking unbelievable. Why they think this will be better? I think they, if I'm not the Academy, I don't know what's in their hearts, but if I were to speculate, I think they are under pressure. Because, you know, do you remember hashtag Oscar So White a few years ago? Remember that, when all the acting categories are all white folks? And I believe that's the year that the Selma actor, what's his name? He plays Martin Luther King. He got snubbed. Like, everybody's like, "Oh my God, he's supposed to get nominated." You know? And that's also the year that Will Smith got snubbed too, from that movie Concussion. I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you didn't include Will Smith." And it was like hashtag Oscar So White. And over the past few years, or over these, you know, since that hashtag Oscar So White, the Academy has been trying to, you know, kind of, the word I'm looking for, I guess, pander, even though pander sounds negative. They're like, okay, don't worry, we're gonna make sure that the membership of the board of the Academy will be diverse, and they did that. They make sure that but then again, my argument to that is it all depends on the projects that are being greenlit, right? If the studios keep greenlighting projects that are just, you know, consist of white actors, then it doesn't matter if you have a diverse board of the Academy. It doesn't matter if the hundreds of Academy voters are diverse. The projects of the films itself will still be white. So I think, and then of course with this past year with George Floyd protests and Black Lives Matter movement, and so it has come to this now. A lot of people have voiced, you know, it's like, come on, Oscars, get with the time, you know, read the room. Everybody wants inclusion and relevance and representations. So that's why they have come to this decision, and I'm not against it. All right, I'm not anti this at all. Don't get me wrong, I'm Asian. I would love to be included in these projects that doesn't, you know, require me to do martial arts, because I can't do martial art for shit. But Hollywood only hires us Asians to do either to play doctors or scientists or to play kung fu. So this is a good step in the right direction, bird's eye viewpoint. But again, to my point earlier with the example of the History of David Copperfield movie. You can't. I hope filmmakers don't feel pressure to make movies only just to check off the boxes. You know what I'm saying? You know, if that's the only purpose that you're gonna make the movie out of, like, then it's weak, man. Then it's weak. Then you're not doing it for the joy of filmmaking or for the joy of storytelling. You know, you can't. I don't know about you guys, but when I see the movie like Manchester by the Sea, right? That's another example, Manchester by the Sea, starring Casey Affleck and Michelle Williams. Guess what? Guess where or which region was that story set or located? it's in Boston, right? It's in Massachusetts. It's in New England. And the demographics there are mostly what? Let's be honest, they're mostly white. So when I see movies like that, and then if Casey Affleck's character's dad is played by a Latino or his mom is played by an African American, then again that would be like, oh, you guys are just pandering, and then I can't take the movie seriously, because the movie is just made for checking off the boxes again. So I hope that doesn't come to that. But I do support at least some of these stuff categories behind the cameras, AD, cinematographer, editor. I do support, more diversity in that aspect. All right. There's a lot of great female cinematographers out there. A lot of great African American editors or what have you. I think for behind the cameras, that needs to happen, and the writers as well, screenwriters. I love that. But as far as the story itself, it has to make sense. The ethnicity and the race and the sexual orientation and the disability, what have you, they have to make sense within the context of the story that you're trying to tell. And you cannot do it, just for diversity's sake and then take the audience's experience out of watching or enjoying the movie. Yana Peretta says, if I hear the word diversity one more time, I'm going to scream. It's not that bad, Ilana Peralta. It's not that bad. I think there are... Here's another thing. I'm going to end on this. Because I'm Asian, right? So, Crazy Rich Asians, the movie that came out a couple of years ago. That's cool, right? You see us Asian folks in a different light. We're not doing martial arts, and it's a romantic comedy, and everybody's well off in that film. Hence, the word rich. I'm gonna make a sequel called Crazy Poor Asians. That applies to me. But anyway, that's nice to have that kind of movie. Even though I wasn't too crazy about the whole thing, because the script was lame. But that's another topic for another time. So it's nice to have Crazy Rich Asians. But for that context, it makes sense. You have a director that's Asian. The stories about Asians. You don't have Henry Golding. I don't know. Going out of context with this somebody from another race or another sexual orientation that doesn't fit with the storyline. So that's another example. That's one example that I can kind of dig with. Like, okay, if you want to make a movie that's diverse, let's go in that direction instead of going in the direction of the history of David Copperfield. You know what I'm saying? And then there's a lot of stories out there within the Asian communities, within the Native American communities, within the African American communities that need to be greenlit. But the problem is, it all comes down to the bottom line, the money, right? It's business after all. Like it or not, whether or not you want to admit it. So studios or financiers or production companies, they generally would greenlight a project if they know what they're investing, they can get a return out of it. In other words, if they can get people's asses in theater seats, or people watching on digital or VOD, paying for the films, then those are the projects that are gonna be greenlit. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it takes a big name, an A-lister. You can have a very diverse project, but if you don't have a star power, good luck trying to find financing for your movie. Good luck getting it greenlit, let alone getting it nominated or eligible for Oscar Best Picture. So it's a good thing. This is a good step in the right direction. Overall, bird's eye viewpoint. And I don't know how this is gonna play out. Whether we're gonna see more of Crazy Rich Asians kind of type, or we're gonna see more of David Copperfield kind of type. But but it also forces the financier or the productions or the studios to think extra hard on what projects they're gonna have to greenlight. Because at this point, up to this point, it's all about what makes money, right? What puts people's asses in theater seats. And that means putting big names on the posters, or, you know, I don't want to be, I guess I have to be blunt. Oftentimes, in the history of the Academy or the motion picture, it's having white actors that sell tickets. That's why they whitewash Ghost in the Shell with Scarlett Johansson instead of having an Asian actor playing that role. Because they're like, hey, we gotta sell tickets. You know, we're not gonna greenlight this project unless we have a big name and unless he or she is white. So now that these rules are gonna apply starting 2024, it's gonna be interesting to see which projects will end up getting greenlit. All right, will end up getting approved. We'll end up getting the green light. And I don't know if there's going to be any pushback from those financiers or investors or studios, because they're going to be scratching their heads like, oh my God, now we're going to have to be diverse. Oh, but what if we took this risks and it didn't pay off, you know, and it didn't like end up being in tickets sold, and that's I think that's what is gonna be running around the clock inside the heads of all the execs and everybody, you know, higher ups. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how this plays out. This again, this doesn't apply yet until the year 2023/2024. So we still got some time. Oh my God. But yeah, those are all my thoughts. I'm not completely against it, but I think it's a catch-22 situation. It's a double-edged sword. And sometimes things that are well-intentioned, sometimes things that are like, they mean well, sometimes they can backfire. So we'll see. We haven't heard any pushback yet about these new rules, have we? Let's go to Twitter here. I think the hashtag Oscars, I believe. Let's go. Let's see what people's reactions are regarding this. Oscar Isaac? Not that Oscars. Okay. Oscar Emerson says the movie industry will be done by 2024. Maybe owned by China, maybe broken up and sold off, maybe a subsidiary of Netflix and or Amazon. The Oscars will only be relevant if China owns it and the only. I think this guy is into conspiracy theories here, but then again, you know, it's not too far-fetched because, you know, the whole controversy with Disney and China and Mulan. China is a big market, and studios will bend over backwards to get China's audiences. Who cares about the Oscars? That organization went the way of the NFL years ago. What? Oscars canceled. LOL. Man, people are so pissed at these new rules. I mean, the Oscars are already ultra liberal. Good to finally at least fess up to the standards. Ay. Megan Death says the Oscars finds new inventive ways of expressing its hate movies. People still care about the Oscars? Wild. Trump 2020. This is insane. The only movies that can win Best Pick have to be story focused on women, LGBTQ people with disabilities. The Academy is staffed with insane people. Well, I don't fully agree with that. Riven Alba says RIP 1917 and Ford v Ferrari. Tutu Magoo says, I love a review of which winners, nominees, and studios would have failed under this standard. Lynn says, based on standard A, I'd guess the following may not have qualified for recent years. From recent years: Spotlight, Birdman, Argo, The Artist, The King's Speech, The Departed, Return of the King, Chicago, Beautiful Mind. No, I think Argo and Birdman. I don't know about you guys. My memory is kind of shot to hell, but I think those two movies were pretty. They had some diverse cast. I know for Argo, it's mostly about Americans who are held captive in Iran. So it's based on a true story. So you have to kind of, when it comes to based on true story movies, I'm gonna have to insist that the actors have to fit the race of the characters that they play. I'm just saying, if it's based on true stories, that's where I kind of like, oh boy, you gotta follow it, man. You can't have Armie Hammer play Martin Luther King. You know what I'm saying? That'd be out of whack. Powerful Smart Rich Black says, I wonder if we'll end up with a contraction in the number of nominees in that category for a few years while people bitch, moan, and then adjust. Catherine Olet says, finally, majority of my life I've watched mostly white actors on screen, championing stories from characters that do not necessarily look like me or reflect anything remotely like my life. Also felt the execs and the investors, remember I told you about the investors, the financiers? Also felt the execs and investors did not want to produce movies don't want to produce those types of movies. Exactly, there had been history of, and it all comes to the bottom line. It all comes to what sells tickets, what gets people's asses in theater seats. And historically has been like, we got to put A-list names or white people. The A-list names that can sell tickets who is person of color, probably is Denzel Washington. It's refreshing to see the effort or to move the needle, because we've asked again and again to be inclusive for decades and decades, to put more characters of underrepresented backgrounds on screen, to open up doors to BIPOCs on set. I'm thrilled. I hope this leads to the studios creating interesting and thoughtful roles for BIPOC actors, but we all know they're gonna just Boyega and Star Wars the Now, that is a pretty good point. This guy Vic. Remember the video that I gave you guys a few days ago about John Boyega complaining to or calling out Star Wars and Disney for casting him, Oscar Isaac, and Kelly Marie Tran just for the sake of diversity, instead of actually giving them substantive, nuanced roles in the Star Wars universe? Yes, I think Vic here lays it all out perfectly. That's one of the concerns that will come out of these new rules, these new established rules. And now, like I said, I know I sound like a broken record now. I fear that the movies that we'll see come 2024 moving forward will be, because filmmakers like, oh my god, now I need to get I want my story to be nominated for Best Picture. Okay, fine, I'll check the boxes. It's all about checking off the boxes now. And then they'll cast some underrepresented actor to play a minor role in their movie that maybe they're just there for the view or for background, and they don't have anything to contribute to the overarching arc of the story. You know what I'm saying? And so they become John Boyegas. There's going to be a lot of John Boyegas happening, where just like, oh yeah, we'll cast them. We'll cast the Asians. We'll cast the LGBTQ. But, they're just going to be there so that we can be eligible for Best Picture nominees, and that's it. It's all still going to be about Rey and Kylo Ren, you guys. Poe Dameron, Finn, and Rose, yeah, you guys have these little battles. Ivana Peralta says, I don't mind to have a diversity in a movie if that helps to develop a good story, but in most cases, the studios just do it to be politically correct, checking the boxes when we end up with really bad movie. Exactly. It's all about checking off the boxes, right? So again, for those of you who just tuned in right now, I'm not anti this new rule. I'm not against this new rule, but it has to make sense within the context of the story. It should not take the audience's experiences out of watching the movie, like I did, like what happened to me with David Copperfield. I was like, that's all I could think about instead of the story. All I could think about, like, oh, that's weird. You know, his mom is Asian, his dad is African American, and he himself is Indian. So, and another one, it should not be John Boyega style, where you have like, you know, just like, yeah, aren't we cool? Isn't my film diverse, you guys? You know, it's all virtue signaling. Am I great? Am I not a good person for casting these people in my movie? You know, because if that's the result of this whole thing, then, you know, it kind of sucks, right? And then what's the use of having these rules at all? But at the same time, again, I'm not against it because coming from because I'm a person of color, for opportunities to be opened up to underrepresented people or minors or minorities, especially behind the cameras, you know, like with screenwriting and cinematographers and editing, and I think this is a good thing. And lastly, my point. Whether this is a pro or contra, it depends on the bottom line. We'll see how this plays out, and we'll see if this forces the financier, investors, producers, the studios to greenlight stories that are diverse, right? Stories that are supposed to be diverse. It's not diverse just for the checking off the boxes, right? Because it's going to be hard for them, because they still have to think about the business and the bottom line and whether or not this is going to turn out in box office money or, you know, return on investment. And so there's a lot of moving wheels. There's a lot of moving components in this whole thing. It's not gonna be a smooth sailing, and I can't wait to hear some of the other opinions or maybe some pushbacks against this in the next few days to come. It'll be interesting to see what other opinions they have. But hey, that's it. Those are all the rules that are being released right now. It's insane, right? It's crazy. It's unbelievable. But we are here now. This is the time and day and age that we are in right now. So 2024 cannot come anytime sooner. All right, you guys, I gotta get back to watching Lakers versus Rockets. Gotta support my team, Lakers. Lake Show. So thank you so much for tuning in and for chatting up with me. Con6800, Tyler Calvert, O. Emmanuel, Yelana Peralta. And if you guys didn't get to chat with me, and if you guys want to share your thoughts about these new rules, whether or not you're pro or against it, or if you have questions about it, or if you have theories as to how this is going to play out, share your thoughts in the comment sections down below. And as always, subscribe. Thanks so much, you guys. As always, let's rock this.